Chris.
Hey, brother.
Yes, man. How you
How
doing?
you doing?
Yeah,
Good,
man.
good, good.
Talking to Perks and Hobo.
Nice.
Yep. So great to see you, mate. Thanks for coming on
You
Facing the
too.
Crowd podcast, UK. Thanks for coming on. Great to see
Thanks
you.
for having me, man.
So you've been a busy man then, with all these different projects at the moment. What one are you
Yeah,
juggling at
yeah.
the moment? Forbidden, I guess,
Uh,
by the
so
sounds of it.
yeah, basically we've been recording and we're doing it in sections here because everybody's schedules. But we've recorded 3 songs for Forbidden, and then we go back in June, the middle of June, to do another 3, and then we'll go finish the other 3 in September. We've got the August tour, so we're rehearsing for that. We're doing the 35th anniversary of Twisted Into Form. There's that, and then I'm also doing on my friend's request for his festival that he throws here in town. He asked me to put together a tribute to Motorhead on their 50th,
Oh
so I
wow.
did that. So I've got this thing called Lem Bump, affectionately named after his moles.
Oh
And
right, yeah, nice.
so that's pretty much what I've been doing, man. And then just, of course, as I do, I've been catching a lot of gigs, going to a lot of shows and, checking out friends and supporting the scene and doing that. So stay busy. Sedentary as death.
Brilliant. So the Limb Bump band is that they're going to play a show soon, or is that did that already happen?
Yeah, we
Are you
no,
playing
we
soon?
played yeah, we played June 14th. It's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of subtle, I've played songs here and there, but when you get into like doing a full set, there's a lot of simple, subtle trickery going on that the nuances are not as simple as you think they are. It's again a testimonial to the genius simplicity of a band can really hide some stuff, So playing the songs has been an adventure and a lot of fun getting in, digging into that.
So you've been doing the Filthy Animal tracks, learning them, and just smashing them out, I
Best I
guess.
can.
Yeah,
Best I can,
yeah,
I mean, he's such a trippy, agitated drummer. So many, like again, the nuances are hiding there when you're just listening your whole life, and then all of a sudden it's your hands kind of making it happen. You realize, wow, this guy, he has such a cool, like twitchy, like there's something very twitchy about his style that's super cool. So I'm having a blast doing it.
yeah. That's awesome. They just unveiled the Lemmy statue in his hometown back here. We couldn't make it. We would have loved to gone up there, but we was already doing something else with our various families. But that would have been a good. I'm sure we'll make that pilgrimage one day, won't we?
Oh yeah,
He
definitely.
went up to the Black Sabbath bridge the other day, didn't you? And
Yeah, that
sat
was
on
fun.
there
That was
Oh,
fun.
in
nice.
Birmingham. Yeah, got his photos up there, didn't you?
It was something. I was working that way, so I thought I can't not. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see both. I'd love to go see the statue. I'd love to go see the Sabbath Bridge. Vicky Huggiford and Alan Huggiford, I think, had a lot to do with getting that done. Um,
So
so
the
yeah, what a
Bloodstock
great,
guys, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was great. The year that Forbidden got to come out and play, they did. That was like the Lemmy themed Bloodstock. Got to see the museum with his backstage room set up and his guitars and boots and hand scribed lyrics and great pictures. So that little museum was nice to see. Love
incredible.
Lemmy, man. I'm just lucky enough to have hung out with him quite a few times, and just what a legend, and just a mutant prototype never meant for mass production.
Oh, you actually got to hang out with Lemmy. That's super special, man. Super special.
Yeah, yeah, he was super cool, super great conversationalist. People have this perception of the speed, and that he would just be a marble mouth, just rah, 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 and he wasn't, man. He was on point, just all subjects, from wine to philosophy to current affairs to war to history. Um, Great guy, sorely missed.
So yeah. Tell us a bit about the new album. Then, I don't know. You obviously the way you're recording it, and that sounds really interesting. So you're piecing it together bit by bit. Do you all to get together and record, or do you do your parts in separate studios, or how does it all work?
Well, the one member that we have that lives in Canada is Dan Mongrain from Voivod and Martyr. Um, so yes, he's in Quebec. So he gets files sent to him, but the rest of the band is writing and recording together.
Cool.
Bit of a mission, statement going on with Forbidden on this stuff. Craig and myself, we write together really well. It may be the best writing combination I've ever experienced.
Cool.
We have an intuition, all the generic cliches you've heard, the chemistry or whatever, but it's real with us. We have a cool energy going on with the writing that I haven't really experienced. We're finishing each other's sentences, kind of know where each other's going, which is really making it easy and cool. Norman has taken on the lyrics and melodies. Craig normally for Forbidden has always done the lyrics and the melodies and all of that and had to do that. And Norman just exploded out of the box with the first three sets of lyrics, and Craig was just like, these are great. I don't have to do this. This is awesome, Matt and myself kind of take on, kind of towards the end of each song being written, we kind of take on what the bass and drums are going to do so we can really properly be a rhythm section, not just bass follow the guitar, but we try to lock in and write the bass lines and the drum lines. I'll address the real kick drum pattern. He'll address, if he has an idea for that, I'll address that. And yeah, so it's been really cool. I think it's a more compact Forbidden. Maybe it'll be 5 or 6 riffs as opposed to 9 or 10. But still really Forbidden. And we're trying to keep that, like, what's the best thing that's in this song that kind of represents the brand or the band, and stick with that and compact it, So we're really excited. The stuff has come out great, and we're just so excited to start releasing it.
Amazing. And have you got like a schedule for how you're going to release it? Is it going to be like some singles and then the full album? Yeah.
Right. So currently the band's not signed, so we're kind of in a sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see what comes out of that. But we are going to release singles first. I think mid-June to just past mid-June will be the first for our song Divided by Zero.
Cool.
We dropped a little teaser. I think people are starting to get a little, just play the song, like, but kind of working the teaser angle, We did a video for the song as well, which is sure to cause conversation. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of do it. July is a big rehearsal and prepare for the run in the UK and Europe and the festivals and headlining shows we're doing in August. We come over a few days early for some pre-production to Holland. But we've got some great festivals, great headlining shows we're going to do in August, and then we come back. Like I said, September is all go to finish.
Awesome, mate. I mean, I hear it's. I've got it written down. You're playing London at the Dome, Tufnell Park, August the 12th, right?
Yeah.
But to everybody out there listening, that's go check the boys out. Forbidden are back. I know you was you was obviously you was a massive fan back in the day, and Greg Cicero is your buddy, isn't he? So you was like, come on, put it back together, right? And here it is. Normally, our first question is, what was the first gig you ever paid to go and see a band? If
that's
going to be way back, but we normally always hit people with that because people love to get nostalgic and talk about their first ever show.
The first concert I ever paid to go see. Geez, that's rough because I had that mom. My mom took me to everything. I saw the Who, I saw the Stones, I saw Led Zeppelin. It would be Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right.
Nice.
And we did it kind of roundabout, right? So if we wanted to go, my mate and myself, we had to do a bunch of yard work at his house. We did a bunch of pruning and like I think we did like a week's worth of work around the house and then his dad paid us, and then that's what we spent that money on was tickets to Earth, Wind and Fire. 79,
Whoa.
1979. I'm
That's,
old, but I've seen all the coolest bands.
yeah. I mean, I know you said
Exciting.
you saw the Who and Led Zeppelin then, and we both didn't say nothing because we were just waiting to hear what you actually paid to go and see. Well, let's not forget you did see them. I don't want to just like go,
Right.
oh, Led Zeppelin and the Who, and these two English guys said nothing. That I felt that you did see them. So back in the day, yeah, that's brilliant.
I did. I was, yeah.
Was there a particular drummer or concert you went to when you were like, that's what I want to do?
Yes, it would. Fatefully, it would be John Bonham.
Wow.
And pretty cool story. I don't know if I can send you the picture or not, but so my stepfather was a master at getting to the right spot at a concert. He knew how to move through the crowd, and with me in tow, it always worked out even faster because he'd be like, "Hey, I've got a little kid here with me," So when Led Zeppelin played in Oakland Coliseum, 1977, July 23rd, he said, "Let's go watch them come on stage." So big Coliseum, 63,000 people. We go to the side edge of the stage, and they're 2 hours late coming on stage. And here comes Page and John Bonham. And when I'm up on my dad's shoulders, leaning over the rail, and John Bonham looks me directly in the eyes and he says, "Hey, lad, you should be out there," and points at the audience. And I never took my eyes off him from that point on. I was already, as a child, crazy about Led Zeppelin. Never took my eyes off him. Of course, on the ride home and at the house till I got a drum set was, I want to play drums. I want to play drums.
Awesome.
I'm
A rock
going to
star
play
spoken
drums.
to you.
Yeah, it just happened, and then that obsession started, and then it went to the headphones in the garage, playing all the Led Zeppelin I could put out. But I was also a huge Cozy Powell fan, Ian Pace, Keith Moon. So it was that moment in rock that really spoke to me with drummers and the bombastic, big bam boom style that those guys all played, that really, sucked me into that.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
mean,
seeing the Who.
how could you not get sucked in? I mean, these
Exactly.
are just like iconic musicians, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like I said, I had that mom and stepfather that took me to everything. My mom, met my real father in the music industry in New York. So there were no babysitters. If it was happening, we were going. My mom and myself shared the love of Stevie Ray Vaughan together and David Bowie. And, then I slowly started to find my own music through Arthur Brown, uh, Alice Cooper, Kiss. Here comes the corpse paint obsession, bands of makeup bands and Black Sabbath, and then that just starts to tailspin into heavy, and Maiden and Priest. I'm a crazy Priest fan. And then just some older brothers started to have this punk rock thing. Like you'd have a couple older brothers of your friends that were into Black Devo and then Black Flag and then the Circle Jerks. And then that pulled me even further down a rabbit hole. And then I just go full bore into the hardcore and punk scene. But I've never had divisions with music. I'm a pure crossover kid. If when people ask me, what's your favorite genre of music, I say the good ones.
Yeah,
because
it's funny because we are exactly like that. Like we just I go into hardcore, I go into metal, go into rock, indie, all of it. I don't see why I should like one thing. And I think, like you're saying, you like it all, man. Like it all. The big stadium bands, everything. Yeah, I mean, if he's talking 1 minute about like Led Zeppelin and then Filthy Animal, like the different styles, but both like fucking amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's picked up
Yeah,
the whole thing, the whole
yeah,
spectrum, and made, you know, that's the influence. Obviously, you're such a talented drummer, but it's all those influences that have made that happen, right?
Yeah.
Picking up on it. So
You've sat in your basement or your garage or whatever, and you've played this stuff over and over, haven't you? You know, you've literally drummed it into yourself, right?
yeah,
Excuse the
yeah.
pun.
I mean, I
drummed it
never
into
took.
yourself.
That's a good way of putting it. I never took lessons. You know, it was all headphones, self-taught, the spinning records. You know, and playing along. And I think that something that's cool about drums is that drummers aren't too afraid of their riffs being stolen. I think that's a guitar player thing or a singer-songwriter thing.
Yeah.
Drummers are always enthusiastic when they see a drummer do something and they're like, "Oh, I do a variation of that," or whatever. It's a little bit more sharing. I think that's where you get the drum circle kind of thing going on.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, just amongst my cohorts in the drum world, you know, the Jason Bittners and the, you know, Thomas Hankey and Gene Hogland and, you know, all these people, you know, Adrian from At the Gates and stuff, you know, we all share this really cool, like, support system between each other when we're doing something killer, or we see each other like address a part that may be similar to a part that we do, but they address it differently, or they accent a different feel and stuff, and we're always like encouraging that. And I think that's cool about the drum world and about drumming, is that it's not protective. It's not, you stole my guitar part,
Yeah,
you know.
it's
It's
funny now you've said it. Yeah, you don't ever hear drummers complaining about
No,
other people ripping bits off and stuff like that, you know, different
no.
licks and stuff. But
no,
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and you're
it
always
is.
out there, aren't you, Chris? You're always out there going to watch other bands, and because I see it on your
Yeah.
Instagram, you're always at shows. You're always going to visit. Well, they're family, aren't they? To you, like these people,
Yes. Yeah.
you're an avid supporter of the scene as well as your own stuff, aren't you, mate?
Big time. I mean, it's my culture. I don't like I find myself seeing a lot of people that kind of get to a point in their career and then they hide or something, like they're they've reached a spot or something. I don't have that mindset, you know? I mean, I still am the guy that makes it awkward, right? With all my friends, because I want a drumstick for my collection. I want a set list. You know, I will take the odd Guitar Hero guitar pick. And if I'm really enamored with your band, I'm gonna want you to sign the record I just got or the CD. So I kind of make it awkward, but I am that guy. I am that collector.
It's
And I am that
first at the
fan.
merch stand, didn't you?
I am that fan, you know? Um, and that's what I like to project when I meet people at my own shows who have come to see me perform. And, you know, I'll go out front and there's a big, oh my, and I just try to break that down because I'm in the front row. I'm still doing stage dives. I'm still headbanging and thrashing. And we're just the same people. I just happen to go up there for 45 minutes to an hour and do something that you really appreciate. But that doesn't put me in any different hierarchy or anything. I don't like the whole rock star thing. I never have. It tastes foul, and it's just important. And we're too fragile, especially in our thing with punk and metal. There's an unsustainable nature to the industry now with the costs, the overhead, um, you know, the percentage being taken from the merchandise from the bands, the bus costs, the visa costs. It's extremely fragile. And if we don't connect truly with our fans and who I call friends, um, and start to get this streaming thing under control, the passive exchange of art for money. It doesn't have to be over the top and a get rich scheme, but it always existed. We've had this industry for 100 years or something. Um, there has to be a realization that the dark trick is that we've been told the bands are being paid with streaming, and it's fractions of pennies.
Of course.
And there are exorbitant costs involved in bringing art to people. I don't mind if people can source music in a less expensive way, or if they can't afford it, that they can still get it on cassette or whatever, like how it used to be from a friend. I don't mind that, but the overwhelming water faucet is just on full blast. And you can just stick a glass underneath it and pull out the Beatles, or pull out Metallica and just a swipe under the faucet. It's a little offset, and it is hurting the ability for bands to be able to tour properly, to record properly, to do videos properly. I'll tell you straight up, we're going to be in some hot water because we did an AI video, and the AI artist that we work with, he spends hours and hours and hours perfecting how it's going to look, even creating things that he adds to the AI. It's a painstaking art process that he's not just sending a prompt off and getting it and stealing it.
I wonder what he was up to after the last Terminator movie, but now he's doing videos, right?
Well, that's the problem, right?
Everyone's got to work.
It's the T2 mentality that creates a ton of fear. We've had AI in place for 20, 25 years. Stop using your navigation if you're so scared of AI. I hope you don't spell a word wrong, because autocorrect is AI. And it goes on and on,
Oh, 100%. The government's tracking me. Yeah, but you've got your mobile phone in your pocket. Of course they know where you are if they want.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, every advancement in technology comes with like a hysteria and a fear. Like, the steam engine is going to compress your organs in your heart to your body because no one can go faster than they can run. The telephone will kill people instantly if you found out your grandmother had just passed, instead of waiting for a stagecoach to tell you 41 days later. So I always kind of chuckle, look, CGI was going to ruin everything, right? Pro Tools was going to destroy music, stop, stop. There are some creepy things about AI, but we put out this teaser for the new song, and it's got some little chunks, and boy, people are just like, oh, fucking pile of shit, AI, fucking, oh, and they're so freaked out about it. And it's like, oil painters hated photographers for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to take a picture of that. Would take me 18 weeks to paint that. And you're just going to push a button. How dare you? And they also, like I said, they think that no one's really working for the end result when you use AI as a tool. I can guarantee you, because I was part of the process, this was arduous. And back to the front, there is no revenue anymore. If I would have handed this treatment and this dream I had for this video to a video company, they would have been, oh yeah, we can do that. That'll cost $580,000.
Yeah, but as much as Michael Jackson's "Remember the Time."
Right.
Remember that when he just disappears into sand? It's like the fucking bollocks, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah,
that was
exactly.
He goes like that and fucking that was that "Remember the Time" video, yeah.
But for that
time,
that was
at the time that was like, wow, it was like on the level with Terminator 2, but a music video, right? I think he paid millions for that, but yeah,
just for that
millions, right?
Insane.
So if you're gonna wrap your head around the lack of revenue created, and then what we're faced with, trying to just give you our art, you're very welcome. Then we need to pull back on the critique. We need to pull back on the criticism about how we're going to create that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's not feasible for most bands who do whatever they do. It's not feasible for most bands to go out and just record a video. It's not as easy as that, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, brother. I'm a little long-winded with my answers.
No. I'm just saying, like I was saying, we have only asked one question. And it's already an amazing podcast.
Yeah, you're doing the work for us. You're doing the work for us.
You're making it so easy, Chris.
All right.
So, well, we'll get to our second question. Obviously, we asked you what the first paid gig was, and the answer was brilliant. God bless. What was the first gig you played? Was it as a drummer, or was it? Obviously, it was the drums you picked up first, right? So I'm assuming the first gig you played was as a drummer. How did that go down? What was that like?
Well, there's twofold to that answer, right? The first time on stage was my stepfather played in a rock band kind of thing, where they would do slip in originals amongst cover songs, and they would play high school parties, gazebos, little things like that. And so when they started getting a bunch of high school gigs, and I was like 11, 12 years old, one of their little novelties was, hey, we're going to bring up Chris to play the drums. And I would get up there and play like Boney Maroney by Johnny Winter, or Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones, or, something like that. So that was my first time on stage. And yes, of course, like Locked, Ruined, absolutely stuck on it, and it came with the, oh my God, this little kid could play drums, so you're like, he, so that would be that first proper gig. We had a place out here called the Vats, and it was an old beer brewery. And what they had were the vats, the giant steel containers where they brewed the beer.
Right.
And it was a punk rock and ultra weirdo squat. And so people would live inside the vats. They would, construct a floor, and they were really cool because, it was warm, and, it was insulated with the, steel walls with the insulation around it. So that place in the parking lot would have punk rock shows. And my first band, Homicidal Youth, played a Vats gig with the Burning Witches, Fang, and the Fuck Ups. And we were little rat-nosed kids getting up there, and we got the salute of the older punkers were like, all right, you kids are pretty fucking good, and so that was the first show. And then the first proper club gig I ever played was with Attitude Adjustment at Ruthie's Inn in Berkeley, California, the infamous birth of Bay Area thrash. Mm-hmm. That was our womb and our honeycomb hideout, where we all cut our bones on the path to metal supremacy or whatever. That's where Exodus and we were on a mission in that club. It's like it's weird because we knew, they say you don't know that it's happening when it's happening, but there was something going on with the Ruthie scene where we're like, this is the heaviest scene ever. We're better than anybody. We knew it was a proving ground. We told Slayer to take off the makeup. It was like,
yeah, I heard about that story. Didn't they come? They come from they come from LA to the Bay Area and played and said, take the fucking makeup off. And then they just kept like the studs and shit, didn't they? Right. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. They played the night before. They played the night before at the Keystone Berkeley, and they had the studs and they weren't over the top like Wasp or something, but they did have the stuff, and it wasn't proper makeup. It was just dark, dark eyeliner, extra thick eyeliner, but that shit wasn't going to fly at Ruthie's. It just wasn't. The night before already, people were throwing paper towels at them, going, take off the makeup, you don't need that. You're good enough, drop the stick, and that's a difference between LA and the Bay Area. Like the Bay Area doesn't really need a bunch of shtick. And then in LA, to kind of survive the promoters and survive the venue booking agents, you needed that hot thing or that look, So Yeah, that's the thing. So that would be the first show I played proper. Was good old. We had a guy, Wes Robinson. He was a jazz and blues aficionado. Grew up in that music scene, and then he started giving us the shot, opening up the doors of Ruthie's Inn, which Ruthie's Inn was just. It went from a bluesman club to like a disco thing in the '70s. Nightclub that took a risk on metal and said, "Hey, well, why don't we let these kids in here on Monday through Thursday, and see what they pull together." And
that became like the Thrash Club to play, right? Is that right? Yeah.
yeah. It was
Wow.
it was and if you've ever have a chance, or if you have seen Murder in the Front Row, the documentary, which is just an amazing documentary about the birth of thrash in the Bay Area, and how important it was. The Bay Area was a proving ground for Slayer, for Anthrax, for Megadeth.
Yeah.
It was like, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Because we were brutally harsh.
Yeah.
And if you sucked, we let you fucking know it.
I'm devastated
what
that
if-
I'm devastated that I haven't seen that. I want to see it now.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Murder in the
guys.
Front Row, right? Why have I not seen that?
Run, don't walk. It is our Bible. It's got everyone in it. Kirk Hammett, Slayer, Anthrax, the whole. It follows the whole path of Metallica back east it's got Mustaine in it. It's fantastic documentary, Murder in the Front Row. But there's something going on with music now that I've noticed. A few things going on with society that this is affecting as well. But it's that what we call trophy kid mentality, where kids are getting a 10th place trophy at soccer league. Participation trophies, over the top.
No one's allowed to win. No one's allowed to lose. That's what you mean, right? That's the new thing now. Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in the schools over here now.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's happening it's happening in the bands, because we're going to see bands now, and they're nowhere near past the drawing board of their band, and they're getting a Saturday night gig. And I'll tell you, back in the day, these kids want to worship Ruthie's Inn, and they want to emulate that thrash time. Well, sorry, Rude Awakening, you would have been pelted with coins and wet paper towels and flipped off, and somebody might even jump up on stage and turn your amp off and say, "Time to wrap it up, guys."
And that's brutal.
Yeah, it is. But you know what, dude? It firmly puts the ball in their court to go home and fucking woodshed.
Yeah,
right. The one aggressive member in the band says, "Hey guys, we fucking sucked, and that's going to be the last fucking time that ever happens to us." And then said band comes back and they kick ass just a little bit more, just a little bit, and we'd be like, "All right, you did it.
Yeah,
continue." And it does a disservice to clap for a band and then look over at your friend and go, "They fucking suck. Yay." You're sending a bad message,
Yeah, very true.
And that's kind of why we have a lot of stuff that's not special. Everybody's in. Go ahead, you do your thing. That's not the entertainment business. The entertainment business, that's why we have Rotten Tomatoes. People were hit with Rotten Tomatoes.
Be better. Be better. Yeah. Don't just be average. Be better.
Right. It's not a participation sport. Yeah, it's not
it doesn't matter who you are, what band you are, that you can always improve, right?
And you pay your money, you walk through the door, you want to be wowed. You don't just want to be like, and it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. And that goes back to like maybe some of that veracity and some of that aggressive nature goes to that we were kind of aware that we were approving grounds. And that came with the harsh side as well, and that's why I love the Bay Area, man. We keep it real. We keep it real up front. Nothing slipped through the cracks. And that's why you end up with 17-year-olds, 15, 17. In the case of Andy Gallion, 11-year-old drummer for Death Angel. That's why you have that. You know,
so
that's
cool.
why you have bands that are barely, old enough to be in the military or anything, putting out Forbidden Evil or, Exodus or whatever. Like, we were kids, and that's because we knew what we were up against, and we knew that there was a bar that was way above our heads. And now these days it seems like the bar is like literally on the ground, and you just need to go to the guitar shop and step over, you know
I remember seeing
and
the
so
Exodus, the Toxic Waltz on Headbangers Ball back in the early 90s. The
I do
video and
about
the
five
fucking
stage dives in I do about
stage.
5 stage dives in that video.
Are you in it? Oh, yeah. No, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
doubt it, mate. You're rooted into the scene, yeah.
Yeah.
So has there ever been a gig or a show, or this is a big question, or a recording session or anything like that where you've just felt like out of your comfort zone and thought, no, this is shit. I don't like this gig. I don't like this city. I don't like this being in this studio. Anything that's like where you're just like, oh shit, and you've overcome it or you just walked away.
Well, I guess that's the key, right? Is the overcome it. I've been like, I guess I've been like tired. There were some times in the late 80s into the early 90s where I was doing some punk tours and stuff that were really fucking long, like 3 months long with verbal abuse. And we were just booked just like a chaos. It was like it's 6 pentagram tour, just
Yeah,
the
making extra
routing.
miles for no reason, sort of thing.
Yeah. So I guess there were parameters to the way some tours were set up that like irked me, but then you get there and you meet the people and you end up with a great sound system or something, and that prevails. Um I, that's an interesting question, but I try to find positivity in everything I do, or you're gonna just source negativity in life. And so, you know, kind of like sometimes faking being happy is a path to actually being happy. So put on a happy face, just find something of value in any situation. Now, look, I've been in situations where I knew that like said recording was going to come out like shit, and it did, because whatever, but still put the performance in, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, it's kind of funny because there's a couple records that I just felt were produced so poorly, but our performance shines and people like love those records. And I'm just thinking to myself, God, it's unlistenable. But what shines through for the listener is the performance. They can hear the heart and integrity and the nucleus of the band. So they love it. And I'm like, wow. Then I think, wow, if we ever remix that, something could get washed off of that. I think something, the raw effort, the raw approach, I guess they know, yeah, it sounds shitty, but it's great. Sometimes music has to be shitty to be great, and so yeah, but being completely bummed out and ruined by something, no, I just don't want to get defeated like that going in. I kind of try to flip the script.
Winning mentality that we're not allowed to have anymore.
Right. Toxic. It's so toxic to want to win, right?
It's just not fair, is it? Play fairly, boys. No, speaking of like raw demos and stuff, the Boneless Ones demo thing come up on the iTunes. So there's one good thing about the iTunes. I wouldn't have heard the old school 80s Boneless Ones demo, which I have heard,
right,
thanks to the iTunes. Yeah, and I know you guys put that back together and did a new album, which I've also heard. Yeah, it's killer, man. Really killer. This is like punky, thrashy type stuff. I don't know if you got chance.
Did you call it the iTunes? You're old, man.
I'm doing it on purpose. It's my like English comedy. I know it's just called iTunes. Sorry, AI. I know you're listening, AI. Fuck you. Yeah. The internet.
So how long have you two been married?
Yeah, it's getting like that since we're podcasting. Yeah. Yeah, so that was cool. You did some shows, the bonus ones, yeah, back together.
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
just in the US? You didn't come
No,
over, or did you?
we actually came over and we got to play a show in Belgium.
Ah,
We also played the Dynamo Festival, which was super cool. Um, yeah, boneless ones, it was a trip. I was in that band in 1986. I was at the same time in Attitude Adjustment. Walked into that band. It was a bit of a hornet's nest. There was some infighting and stuff. I was very young. I was only like 17 when I joined the band. And I was like, oh shit, what have I walked into? Because they were infighting and ready to quit. And I was only in the band for a short amount of time, but we did write some cool songs. And then over the years, kind of lost touch with the guys and everything. And then the guitar player kind of went down a shattered mental health and drug path. And it was really sad to watch his demise, and really kind of affected all of us that knew Luke. And then he eventually did pass away, and that got us all on the phone. You
oh, right.
know, oh, death, that could happen to me. And let's go and honor Luke by recording these songs that never saw the light of day. And that was kind of the idea of the thing. But Luke was, a Joe Satriani student. He was one of Joe Satriani's first 10 students.
Oh, right.
And that's Alex Skolnick, Kirk Hammett, Bob Coons, Mark Biederman. This is the early Steve Vai. This is like the nucleus of Joe Satriani giving lessons. So he was really skilled, like over the top skilled. So that was almost a tongue-in-cheek aspect of the bonus ones in itself, that this guy is way too good to be in this quirky punk skater band. And it just somehow worked, but we couldn't find a guy to match that getting back together. And so I reached out to Craig, and Craig, said, oh, I love the bonus ones. And unbeknownst to me, Craig, it's something that Craig and I had never really spoke about, was his vast knowledge of punk and thrash mixture, the crossover mixture, and then even deeper into punk. I didn't know he was into like the Adolescents and, some of the Circle Jerks riffs he was coming up with. I'm like, where is this shit coming from? He's like, dude, I've never had a vehicle to play this stuff, but I love it. It's just the bands
so
I was in.
He took over the guitar, and obviously,
yeah.
Then the new stuff happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we went in and then
a fitting tribute then.
Yes, yes. Luke. And I think we did Luke proud with not only the 4 songs, but the other songs that Craig brought to the table. He brought 8 songs in, and we recorded that record, and it was a lot of fun. And yes, now they've released the demos themselves, which is cool to see.
Yes, on the iTunes.
Amazing. On the iTunes.
On the iTunes.
On the iTunes.
Oh. You must have some good memories or bad memories, I don't know, of the Burn My Eyes, like the recording of Burn My Eyes. How was that?
What's that?
How was it? How was it?
Hey, I love my time in the band, good for bad, better or worse. Especially after the reunion, when we got back together in 2019, it crushed so much bad energy and negative vibes that we left on the table when we were young. Yeah. Those early tours, the veracity of the ascent of the band, with the year of Roadrunner, the whole 1994 moment for Roadrunner is historic in itself. The way we took off in the UK was just a madhouse and awesome. And I've made and still have so many dear friends from that time. So yeah, by the time you're 50 something and you're sitting at a table and you're talking about going back on the road to put a stamp on a legacy, it has a pretty overwhelming effect of just washing away bad vibes and what the hell do we even fight over? And what did we do? Like we fucked it all up, you know? I mean, we didn't have the tools to talk through those things, and it was just bravado and machismo and you're not the boss of me kind of shit got in the way and ruined the band. You know, it ruined it. And if we would have been given those tools, we may have been able to make our way through it. And boy, who knows what Machine Head could have.
Sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead.
Did you have management then? Did you have anyone trying to look after you and try and keep that thing together? Because obviously you blew up so big. So, you know, we're here in Europe. We know how popular you were with us, obviously, and everyone else in the metal scene at the time. Like that album was absolute genius. But was there no one that could diffuse that and stop that or look after you guys? Didn't you tour for like 22 months or something straight? Was it just like taking its toll, but was there no one looking out for you, or was you just out there on the tours on your own? What was the crack?
Well, we had Joey Houston, right? Now Joey Houston's a dear friend of ours. He's a great businessman. He's, you know, very cool. Love him to this day and everything. But I don't think Peter Grant could have held that together, you know. There was something bullheadish, two rams on a mountain between me and Rob, where, you know, I knew my way of doing things, he knew the way he wanted to do it. It was just I think not an unstoppable force, you know, meets immovable object, you know. You know, he was looking out for us. We had great tour management and stuff, but there was just something different about me and Rob that we realize what it is all now. Like I said, you know, now that we've reconnected, we've become friends for the first time after that reunion. We weren't friends, we were adversaries when Machine Head started, and now we're dearest of friends, you know, and that's really special. That whole reunion tour was so cathartic and so, like, I'll say it was magical, you know, for not only stomping you know, the legacy of the band into place, but also just very fulfilling in a way that we could crush the beef. We could get back together with Logan. You know, unfortunately, Adam wasn't part of the equation just because of too much stuff that had gone on. So yes, a slight asterisk there on the Machine Head tour, but the crew, the way they run things, the way Rob runs things, you know, I get it now. I understand a lot of what he was doing, you know, with the what they leave behind with the shows, the production, the multiple, you know, the merchandise. Like they do such great merchandise and such great versions of the vinyl and things like that. I get it now. Back in the day, I just thought it was money expenditures, just money going out the sieve. But I do understand now, and he understands where I'm coming from too.
You've been part of the vision now, actually.
Yeah.
Part of it. Yeah, I saw one of your drum cams on YouTube when I think you played Brixton, London. You was stood up on the stool and obviously you played the Burn My Eyes stuff, man. And like you said, it was magical. It did look fucking magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've gone full circle and part of the vision now. So COVID canned the reunion shows, didn't it? In the end,
it certainly did. Yeah.
Hopefully you get to do a run again sometime, eh?
Oh
yeah, you know, I mean,
that's
hopefully
back memories of Rob during the lockdown doing his acoustic drunken cover songs. That was quite good. I used to love watching that.
Yeah, everyone did loads of crazy stuff online to keep everyone sane, didn't they? Yeah, man.
Yeah. It was maddening. You know, it's one thing to say I don't feel like going to the show tonight, and the other of you can't go to the show tonight. I think it really put the whoop on people. I think it really showed how psychological music is for people and how healing and how people take it for granted, perhaps, when you can't do it. Boy, it really meant something, right? And yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. I didn't do a lot of online things. We did do the the anniversary, 30th anniversary with Rob, had us come into the studio and play. I played on the electric drums. It was totally fun. And he also gave us the gold records live on that stream for Burn My Eyes, which was really cool and special times.
That's lovely stuff.
Yeah.
It?
I think some bands.
It's great that, because at the end of the day, we're all brothers, man. I think it's great that you guys get on again now. I mean, that's brilliant. Because it's not.
I value it.
It's a good story, man. It's a true story, and it's a nice story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a good story.
Yeah.
With a happy
Yeah,
ending.
I mean, you don't always have to finish last, in any situation. You can rectify, you can squash beef, you can take ownership of what you did, your participation in the wrong. That's another thing. Everybody has not everybody, but people have a problem getting out of their own way, right? And it was a learning experience, a learning curve, and what a great time that was to go back out. And yeah, COVID crushed it. We left a lot on the table, which was a bummer. But yeah, there's been smatterings of talks of regional, or some of the bigger ones that we didn't get in might come to pass. I would love to get it down to Australia. I would love to get it over to Japan. There were some parts of Europe that got gypped on it. I'd like to see it get there. Forbidden and Machine Head are playing a bunch of festivals together this year and next year. So who knows? Maybe I'll jump up and play Davidian or Old or something.
Chris,
Cool,
Chris, just you mentioned Dynamo earlier, and I know you played Dynamo in '95 with Machine Head.
Yeah.
Like, is there any memories of that day and when you played that? I know it's a long time ago, but obviously at the time we saw the footage on TV, and you can still watch the whole thing on YouTube. Such a killer show. But is there anything about that day you can remember, and just what was the vibe and everything there on that day? This is a big rewind, but because I've always watched that, I've always watched that over the years as I fucking love it. I want to ask you about it.
Yeah. Well, it was wild times. The band was breaking up right before your eyes.
Right.
Lot of fucking hate on that stage, and a lot of fucking love for that crowd. It's first time I had ever played a festival, as well as the rest of the guys. We were absolutely overwhelmed at 156,000 people. All of our friends were there, from all the bands. And we all had fake masks on because we were absolutely furious and just fighting. And so my memories of that was inside being I can't fucking wait to get away from these fucking assholes. And I know they felt that way too. And we were like, hey, how you doing, Vinny from Madball and Agnostic Front? Great to see you again. And, oh, hey, it's the guys from Grip Inc. Hi. We were fed up, and we were also intake specialists at that point. I'll just put it like that. So intake was at a high. Let's leave it at that. So the set is ferocious because of that. Sometimes that anger and rage will twofold bring the tempo up because we're flying that show. And there's just a rage and an anger and an aggression that is unbeatable. And that's magic, right? That transpires into fucking magic. So great times, great friends, spent a lot of time hiding on people's buses, having a laugh and hanging out. And then that thing comes together as we're all standing side stage and we explode,
You delivered, yeah.
So,
there was so much shit going on, but delivered in front of so many people.
A lot of people.
Yeah. And it's funny because just one last thing about the fixing with Rob, right? We talked about that. We said internally, we robbed ourselves of that moment, and let's never rob ourselves from any kind of anything again, right? Because in even telling the story. Like my neck hair was standing up just then, kind of, because it was that palatable, the feelings, right? So that was almost an example that we used with each other, was like, fuck, look how revered and loved and that video is, and that moment is, for the day of Roadrunner, as they call it. And we ruined it for ourselves. So like from this point on, dude, let's never let anything get that out of balance to where we actually don't have the greatest feelings about that day. We have to kind of look back on it and evaporate or put some things aside just to enjoy even seeing it or talking about it, So, yeah, but what an awesome show, and so lucky to have that. That whole show wasn't even supposed to be filmed. They were gonna film us as just a test video. But they ended up testing. We're like one of the only bands that has the entire set filmed, and we didn't get our hands on that until years later. The entire set. So that was a gift, right? To get that, like, what? He's like, yeah, we found it, man. The whole thing exists.
Wow.
So
did it ever get released as a proper release? If it didn't, it fucking should be, right?
I've seen it as a bootleg.
I'd love to have that shit on vinyl, an official vinyl. Let's get an official vinyl of that. Come on.
Yeah, and who mixed us is actually the guy who mixed that day. Vincent Wojano is the guy who mixed the record, the Machine Head record with Colin Richardson. He was our sound guy that day, so it's got something going on. At least he could capture the tones and stuff. But we go tragically out of tune a few times from the jumping and punching of the guitars, and like I said, we're playing really fast. But I do have bootlegs, like DVD bootlegs, where somebody has mocked up a cover and some shots in and around that time, and then it's just a CD burn of the show. But great to have. Totally cool times.
Yeah, I mean, it's like waltz and all, right? I mean, no band gets up and plays everything perfect. That's what makes you human, isn't it?
That's what makes a show. It's what makes a gig, right?
Of course it is.
This is our theory. This is our theory now about Forbidden, right? If you want perfection, you're not going to even get it on the record, because we used no trickery on the record. The new Forbidden stuff is what we like to say has hair on it, warts, scars. We wanted, everything that everybody worships was recorded that way, whether it be Metallica, Exodus, Testament, fucking Van Halen, whoever. And there's this like perfection infection, I call it, where everything sounds fake and everything seems like it's been run through a grid, and it's all backed up with symphonic hidden girth to the low end and all this stuff, and music isn't like that. You know what I mean? So we recorded it in a way where it's all natural drums, guitar on the right, lead guitar, other guitar player on the left, proper placement of the vocals saturated right where they should be, bass in this big nice crust. A proper record, recorded, without a ton of tricks and X mixing and grids, and we didn't even record to a fucking click track.
Forbidden, a new Forbidden album can't come out like a polished turd, can it? It's got to be that way. It's got to be done properly. Old school, right? It's got to be. Chris, we always ask this weird question to everyone that comes on, and it's basically, you can send just one track up into space for other life forms to hear. I feel silly even asking it, but we love it, and everyone seems to love it. One track.
Yeah, it can be by any band.
It doesn't have to be yours. It could be any favorite track that you want other life forms to hear, but it's only going to be one from Earth, a track that you know and love or have been part of. Send it up to space. What's it going to be?
I'm going to send Moonlight Mile by the Rolling Stones, my favorite rock and roll lullaby ever.
Nice. That's a nice choice, especially there's a nice lullaby, all that kind of stuff, nice and relaxing up there.
And he's on the UK podcast, and he's saying the Stones, and we like that. Been brought up on the Stones, like, my parents, like, fucking absolutely brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's a great choice. And that's the first person that said a Stones track So that's
we've had all sorts of answers, but that's the first one.
like it.
Yeah, classic rock, dude, is my core. It's what I like I said, shared with my folks, and then I had a reverence and revered deeply. At times I've said I'm just a classic rock drummer playing way too fast. So yeah, it does hold a place in my heart. The writing, the recording styles, they weren't given a lot to create those records, man. We're talking 16 track recording systems, arduous takes, oh, you fucked up, back to the top. I think some of the techniques and stuff are now lost with technology in a small way.
Yeah, like splicing the tapes with the razor blades, all that kind of stuff.
That was terrifying back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, can you even imagine trying to get that fucking right?
Oh, dude, it was terrifying when you'd fuck up and then the engineer would be like, we can't fix this. We are now stuck right here. We are going to have to cut the tape. It was like, bum, 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 every big close up on everybody. Like, no, not the tape. It was, it was fucking scary,
I'm sorry, so you're out of studio time.
Yes, you're done.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it?
So, yeah, just there's something great about the 70s, much like the movies. We won't get into it, but the decade under the influence, dude, the movies that came out in the 70s, I'm a hardcore movie buff, and just something magical about what was going on in the 70s for me that I try to bring to the table to this day, even if it's hidden and you don't realize it. Like somebody might say, oh, where'd you come up with that? And I'll be like, oh, that's Rainbow. And they're thinking that's Slayer, or they're thinking, Megadeth. And I'm like, no, Deep Purple, man. That's Deep Purple.
It's all in there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We had Roy Miorga from Stone Sour, Roy.
I love this fucking guy so much.
He come on the show and he was like massively talking about his love of like 70s horror movies and 80s horror movies and all that. And like he was creating scores and stuff for movies now, like, but all influenced from the stuff he'd seen and watched, rather like what you're saying yourself about from the music you've heard and the films you've watched, inspiration.
Yeah. Nice guy. I'm seeing him next month, funnily enough.
Yeah, you're going to watch. Should we go to watch? He's playing, isn't he?
He's playing with Jerry Cantrell.
That's it.
Jerry Cantrell right now. Yes. Yeah. I love Roy. Roy and I are really close friends, and watching him do all the Moog, he has a whole Moog setup, dude. And,
yeah, we could see that shit on when we were talking to him.
Like he recreated The Shining. You're like, whoa. Yeah, he's great, and just great for music, great for nostalgia. We drive everybody crazy when we're together because we're talking all things drums, movies, and music, and everybody's like, okay, we're not part of this conversation.
Honestly, now coming out is remakes of other films. It's like nothing new comes out.
Should have left it alone.
There's nothing left, is there? There's no imagination left. They can't make anything new or good or original, or it's just nothing left to make. No, we need AI, don't we, Chris? It's AI to make us a fucking movie.
Not there.
Come on, AI. You can make a video. You can make.
They're just bereft. They're just bereft of ideas. And look, I feel that both industries, the movie industry and the music industry, what I like to say is they've become reactive as opposed to proactive. I think they have both lost the plot in a way to where they're in the bottom of the well, scratching at the well walls. And with the music industry at the nucleus of Napster, that's when somebody should have ran into the room waving a piece of paper saying, we can stream, we can do this. I figured it out. Down in the nerdery, we figured out a way to own streaming, and they would have negotiated a livable wage. It probably would have been based on current publishing, and the wage would have been suitable for a band to survive, and they blew it so hard that now they're just reacting to streaming, reacting to the loss of revenue. And I think the same thing kind of happened with Hollywood, where they stopped taking risks and they went for popcorn sales. And look, nothing against the DC or Marvel moment, but like just that splatter just took over something nice like Needle Park. Like take a risk on a movie, Joe, a movie like that, you have them, you have the independent films, but they don't get the push that they did in the 70s. It's not big house, it's small. You have to dig to find it and everything, and bless those movies. But yeah, nobody wants to take a risk anymore. You have two industries absolutely terrified.
There's a certain amount now. When you're listening to playlists on Spotify or whatever, there's a certain percentage of what you're listening to that was created by AI. There's AI songs on Spotify that just get mixed into your playlists. It's insane.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But you can't
and
even
you remember,
tell.
Yeah, right. If you remember, all the record labels tried to sue the AI companies. Few of them won. Right. And everybody was like, yeah, get AI, get them, record labels, get them. Yeah, the record labels did that because they have all started their own AI and they want to use their own catalogs to recreate the greatest music that ever sold. Right. So, yes, you're going to have, and if they've currently signed someone, said singer, songwriter, or whoever, they're going to create Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson style for them to sing on till their contract's done. There's evil tucked away in everything, of course, and everything could be taken advantage of and used for, but it's up to us to navigate that, to weed it out. And that's where I think, look, there's a lot of blame here at the customer's feet. Right? The customer should be able to navigate some of these things on their own. They should, by now, realize that we are being paid slivers of a penny. It's 1,700 plays to earn $12, right? Pair of drumsticks is $12.
Well, how about this then? We had Live Aid to help everyone in Africa. Why can't we just have a massive fucking concert, worldwide thing to shut these streaming things down, like a real live proper concert that people pay for and give the money back to the artists? And
because the industry doesn't want that to happen.
No, but everyone in the fucking bands should make it happen. Everyone should just down tools and get this together and get this massive music concert going, and it puts it out there, and we shut them down. I mean, first it was like you buy albums on iTunes, yeah? People paid $7.99 for an album, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you pay nothing.
You don't have to. You still can buy stuff on iTunes.
But who's gonna? It's just not human nature to pay when they don't have to. But yeah,
right. But but that's where people need to fucking like have a come to Jesus moment. Like, everybody's afraid to point the finger at the customer, but it has to be done to a point. Everybody's like, oh no, shh, you don't want to alienate the customer. I'm sorry, but let's just break it down to our genre of music, like our culture of, it's far too fragile to fuck with like that. I'm going to bet that somebody in a band, or your roommate or your girlfriend is in a band, and look, they're paying $750 a month for the studio. They just spent 10 grand on the record. Drumsticks are $12 a pair. Bus costs $100,000 for 40 days. Visa costs are tens of thousands of dollars. Carnet, like when you start to build the unsustainable amount of money, you have to ask a question of the fans: do you want live music and music anymore?
Yeah.
How much does it mean to you? Did we get you through your divorce? Did you listen to us in headphones during the war? Were you bullied? Did you hit a dark spot and put on Led Zeppelin 3 and Tangerine got you through it? Like, how much does music mean to you? Because it's not sustainable for us to provide this much longer.
No.
So there has to be
Your man was saying earlier, we got packed. Obviously, we're in the studio. Look, we've got all the drum kits, everything.
Nice.
A pack of bass strings is £45.
Right.
For your man to replace. Like, there's some people that won't spend £45 on music for a whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just one fucking local band in one little studio in Essex in the UK. That's not even talking about bands that actually have to tour like yourself. The costs, astronomical. And yet people are paying nothing. But I'm a fucking hypocrite because I listened to your old school demo on iTunes. We put this podcast out for nothing on iTunes. We're giving it to everyone.
Right.
Primarily to keep the scene alive and to talk to great people like yourself. We want the scene to stay alive. We want all these people to be heard. But we're having to put it on that platform. We're not going to be able to post that fucking CDs of this podcast, are we? Do you know what I mean? So we're all caught in the web of it, Chris. It's going round and round. And no one can get out of the web. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's an enigma caught in a riddle.
It is.
But look, the dialogue needs to start somewhere, right? The way I feel is like if I don't start, like, because look, I've had a lot of people give me heat, right? They're like, "Oh, you're gonna get fucked over. You're gonna fuck yourself out of a job, or Live Nation won't book you if you go too hard on them, or whatever, or you're gonna alienate the." But I feel it does a disservice to the 12-year-old kid in his garage with headphones on right now, trying to learn Gojira songs, going into this dream with a distorted concept or a distorted perception of the dream itself. And so I do want to talk about this stuff. I do, the dark trick is that people have been told the bands are being paid. I'm not stealing the music. My $14.99 a month. But the clarity needs to be defined, and people need to come together in the industry and talk about some of this stuff. I don't blame people for accessing music. I don't. But there has to be a give and pull,
It's going to take. It's going to take people like. It's going to take people like Metallica and Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, all these people. It's going to take them to fucking down tools and say, "All right, we can make a living out of it because we're top of the tree, but everyone else is getting fucked here. We need to take a stand." I know Lars did do that years ago with Napster,
and he was right,
and he was completely right. And everyone was like, "Oh no, you just want the money," But he saw it. He saw it. He was intelligent enough to see it, and no one backed him at the time, so he washed his hands of it. But maybe he can have another go. Lars, where are you?
Well, I look, when that happened, I knew what he was talking about. That dude owns yachts and basket paintings.
Yeah.
And I knew he wasn't talking about him. He was talking about chipping the dips. You're fucked. Your little band is fucked, and I knew what Sheryl Crow was saying. And, even just going back a little bit, when Taylor Swift refused to have her music on Apple Music because they were going to do the first 3 months for free. And she's like, no. And that wasn't about her pennies and nickels. It was about the little guy is going to be absolutely devastated by 3 months for free, So, and they pulled that back. They said, okay, we're going to do it free to the customer, but we are going to pay the royalty rate out. Yeah, we need champions of that stature. It can't be all left to people like me and other small guys in the water.
That's what I mean. You need real powerhouses of music to stop. Fucking Billy Joel. All these people need to just down fucking tools, or it will never change. They're the only people that could do it. And to hit the younger generation, their favorite people need to do it as well.
Yeah.
People under 30. Performers that are under 30 need to do it as well.
Ariana Grande, The Weeknd.
I couldn't even think of any because I don't listen to them, but I couldn't.
Right, but if these people,
I know they are like they
Billie
need to down tools. All of them. The big rappers, they need to down tools. All of them. Fucking Dr. Dre needs to down tools with Metallica at the same time and do this shit, or like I say, or Spotify and Apple. Stop listening to me, Spotify and Apple, and we'll do this forever, Chris. They will take this money forever and get bigger and bigger.
They will,
and the shareholders will get happier and happier. And me and him, just sitting there as complete no ones, and we can see it.
It was never like this. It was never like this. People are drunk on convenience, ODing on their zeal for, I own a phone, therefore it's the golden ticket to everything I want. It just can't be that way. It's a distorted perception of life. And it's great to be able to do certain things with the phone and technology like that, but to absolutely mangle the process is just, it's wrong. It can't continue. It's not sustainable. We are going to see bands drop off. There are bands currently would blow your mind who have filed for bankruptcy. The ship is going down, and it's like there's going to be a hard drop of where people are like, yeah, you won't see that band anymore. They can't afford to do it, and it's going to be a big but why moment. And then then the dam will just break, and then it'll all come out, and it'll be too late.
Such a shame. Such a shame.
Well, let's watch this space then. Let's hope someone's downs tools. Who's going to be the first to down tools? I put it out there. Who's going to be the first powerhouse?
They won't, unfortunately, because all the music. Take Guns N' Roses, for example. Yeah, one of the biggest bands in the world, or whatever. But AI can recreate their music and write music in exactly their style and put it out there for free. How long a band's going to be needed? And that's the whole issue, isn't it?
Told you AI was going to be massive.
It's scary.
He's like, AI's been around for years, you dipshit.
It really has. It really has.
For so much longer than people actually think.
Yeah, it's making the moon landing look real now. You see that?
That's great.
Suddenly there's depth to it. You can't even remember the old footage now. All I can remember is it looks kind of real now.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, we'll see what AI does. I think people should be more concerned with it's been tasked to cure cancer. And if it starts to look at the earth as an organic organism, what is earth cancer? Us.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Terminator 2 coming up. Oh,
I knew that's what you were thinking. Yeah. Oh, we'll have to put that. We'll have to put that song as the end of this podcast. The Terminator thing.
Yes, start the music.
Yes. It starts now. As your.
Nice.
We'll let you go, and when you hear this, you won't hear this back. Why would you waste your time listening to this back? Only the true fans, only the true face in the crowd fans out there will listen to this. But as I'm speaking now, the Terminator 2, thanks to Chris, will be coming in. Dude, thanks so much. Loved every second of chatting to you, man.
Yeah, good times, man. Had a great time. Thank you for the opportunity.
No. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
No, it's been awesome. Great. Lovely to chat to you.
And
I'm
good
changing
luck.
my song into space.
Oh, go on.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah. I tried to whistle then, but I couldn't because I was smiling.
I couldn't either.
I ruined the moment.
I'm Brian, and so's my wife.
What
so
a
good.
film!
You know what I mean? Nudge, wink, wink.
Chris Kontos is off to watch Terminator 2. Bye, folks.
Bye.
Mic drop.